Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pope.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Pope. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. We'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. We'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause the times is the man, the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have arrived.
The man, the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have arrived.
The man, the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to the man,
First
the
Contact
truth.
Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
Good morning, Earthlings. Welcome to First Contact Radio. How you doing today? Glad you could be here, as always. Glad indeed. Here we are at the 16th of the month, 16th of December. Less than 10 days till Christmas time. The 16th, we have a void of course moon. That void of course moon began at 1:17 in the morning. 1:17. So shortly after midnight. So again, a void of course moon is the basics is this. You have 12 signs of the zodiac. The sun sign or the moon sign moves around every 2.5 days. It goes to another sign. When it makes the transition from one sign to the next, sometimes it leaves a sign and goes right into the next sign immediately. Sometimes it leaves the last aspect or information about that sign, and then it takes a little time. It's just kind of lingering along until it gets to the next sign. And that phase is a void of course phase, when it leaves the last aspect of one sign before it goes into the next one completely. And so during that void of course phase, we're kind of lingering ourselves, waiting for the next moment to occur. So that's basically what it is. And so it's like in between one idea, getting ready to go to the next one, but not completely there. So you just look at the sign that you came out of to see what you're lingering with and what sign you're going into to help you understand where it is you're going, okay? So in this particular case, we see we're going from Aquarius, an air sign, to Pisces, a water sign, and that transition starts at 1:17 a.m. and it goes all the way to 11:45. We're in that period of time. So that transition is we're going from air to water, learning how to make that transition. Got some time to think through it before we get there. And that's mainly it. Those are the main aspects today. And as we move into this water sign of Pisces, this is the sign of Pisces, the tarot card of the moon. Pisces is all about a journey that has been completed. Let me show you this right here. Here's the wheel. Here's the first sign right here, Aries. So when you make the journey in the zodiac, you're making a journey in a counterclockwise direction here. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. You make this long journey here. This is Pisces, the last one. So one of the things about Pisces is that Pisces is the end of a journey. The end of a journey. It also is the period of time where we've gone past everything that we know, and now we're about to step into the future, to the next moment. Well, we know on the wheel, the next moment is going to be the Aries. However, in life, what we're trying to do is not just run around in a wheel like a hamster, but we actually are looking to slowly evolve, rotate up higher and higher. We can also go lower and downward, but the idea is we're looking to spiral in some sort of a way. And so when we're making that spiral coming out of Pisces, there's an opportunity then, like you see right here in this particular card, of you got the towers, the pillars. The pillars represent everything that you know. So everything up to that pillar, we've come out of the water, the fluid of life. We've come out with this hard shell on ourselves to protect ourselves from the fluid of life, from the emotions, all of that kind of stuff. We've now gone and we've evolved like the wolf, and then we've become domesticated like the dog. And then as we've done that, we've moved through the path of life, and then we get to the pillars. We get to the point of everything that we know up to this point, we've experienced, we've learned, but we've never gone past these pillars. We're getting ready to. And so now we have to go by. Now we have to go into the unknown. And when we go into the unknown, sometimes we need to have some sort of indication that there's still a direction that we're going. That's what the moon is all about. The moon is reminding us. The moon is the mother. It reminds us that mother is always there with us. It reminds us that that energy of life to nurture us is always available to us. And what is required is faith. Faith, knowing that we look at the moon, we see a light. It reminds us that light is always available, even in the darkest moments, even in the dark of night. So we have light shining so that we are able to see where we're going. So faith is the key with Pisces, because otherwise with Pisces, you've got the fish. One fish is going this way, one fish is going the other way. Fish is, in the tarot card of the Scorpio, tarot card of death, fish, the symbol, is an idea of transformation. So we have this transformation going one way with the Pisces. We got the transformation going the other way. And in both cases, you're not getting anything done because you're working against yourself. Emotions are pooling in different ways. So what needs to happen is the Pisces needs to bring that together to be very focused. That's what we're looking to here. We've got two towers, right? Like two Pisces, but we got one path in the middle. So we have to pull our focus. We have to pull from that duality to understand the single path before us. It's pretty interesting and pretty simple when you look at it. And all of these are really basically the same way. When you look at life and the energy, it's pretty basic and simple. It just sometimes takes a process of us getting to understand that we need to go through some challenges in order to understand often what this means. Okay, so that's what's going on there. You saw the wheel to get an idea of that. The moon phase, 28.2% of the way full. I'm working towards that full moon on Christmas Day, the 25th. 16th of the month of December is also for Tevet. For Tevet. Daily thought is memory. We grow because we remember. We grow because we forget. We forget, I am this. We remember that we were never really that at all. It is the power to be all things, to not to be ruled by any of them, because in essence we are none of them. We grow when we remember we are not who we were yesterday, and tomorrow we will not be who we are today. On the Dreamspell Oracle, today is the 10th day on the wave spell of the star. 10-tone day is called the planetary tone of manifestation. The color for today is red. This is all about synchronicity and navigation. So today we're manifesting synchronicity. The life force energy is guiding us. Our hidden power is the ability to plant seeds and ideas. Like-minded energy is inspiration, and our challenge today is what we're going to do with our hands. Are we going to kill or are we going to accomplish? How are we going to use our hand to create, to manifest? The phrase for today is I perfect in order to evolve, producing synchronicity. I seal the matrix of navigation with the planetary tone of manifestation. I am guided by the power of life force. Spaceweather.com, solar wind 491.1 kilometers per second. We're quiet right now, all quiet down on planet Earth, but in the next 24 hours it could be unsettled. Chrono hole, we're told that by the 17th tomorrow, so over the next 24 hours, depending on where you are, here on Earth, you'll feel that sometime soon. M-class flare possibility is still low at 10, staying there. X-class also at 1. Geomagnetic storm activity steady as well. A slight decrease in the upper latitudes. Slight decrease in the mid latitudes as well from 15 to 10. And looking at the sky tonight, Wednesday the 16th. The moon this evening stands midway between Fomalhaut to its lower left and Enif, the nose of Pegasus, to its upper right. The moon is about 20 degrees from each. So there you have it. That's what's going on with us today, cosmic weather-wise. Remember, cosmic weather is just the energy around us. And we move through this energy every single day. And so it's often helpful to know how to move through the energy. So like knowing how to drive down the street, knowing the directions we're going, that's all we're doing. So there you have it. Plan accordingly. We got Sagittarius, truthfulness. We've got Pisces coming up, which is the emotions, moving past what we know into the unknown. So our emotions are going to be tested. We're moving to another level. So we have new feelings that we've accomplished something. And now that we're moving on to the next phase, we want to make sure that those feelings aren't clashing with each other, that we are able to let go of one to move forward to the next. All right? All right. There you go. UFO News is up next.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right. Thank you very much, Dirk Bradshaw, for that fine introduction. First story here. This is in New Jersey. Glowing orb over New Jersey. Here's one interesting footage of a bright glowing orb hovering in the sky above Avenue in New Jersey. Happened Monday the 14th of December. It says, I took a picture of my dog on the foot of the bed, and he went to the window and videoed 6 seconds of some UFOs. Here's the crazy part. I don't remember actually doing it. It seemed dreamlike. It was December 14th, 2015, 4:41 a.m. I thought I was dreaming. My nephew was in the bathroom, so I waited on the edge of my bed for him to finish. I must have grabbed my phone. I took a picture of the dog, and then something made me go towards the window and start recording immediately afterwards. Next day, I'm looking through the pictures to show my friend a picture of my granddaughter when I came across this video. Not I nor my family could believe this video that was taken. There we go. Again, my phone, I want to analyze for authenticity. So this is what was taken when the person got up. They said they don't remember taking this. Okay, very interesting indeed. So what do you think that is? 4:41 a.m., early morning light. Doesn't remember taking it. Stranger things have happened. All right, here is a story. This is another take on a story that I read to you yesterday. Remember that image right here? And then we had the image here, which the person says this is the sun, but this was the other image. And the article was alluding to that this was simply a spaceship illuminated, and that these images in here were trees that were in front of it. Well, another take is here's an image that appeared in China, and this was a city over the skies. So someone is making the theory that maybe this is another one of those, and these images we see inside aren't trees in front of this, but actually images within some sort of a structure here. Is that the case? I don't know. It looks more like, the idea of trees looks more like a good explanation of this. But let's just check it out and see. It says, first, thousands of residents feared a portal to another dimension had given them a glimpse of an alien city in the skies over China. Then a similar apparition in the sky appeared above Hastings on the south coast of England. Now a remote part of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado in the U.S. is seeing a mystery sky city or even alien forest forming suddenly and then vanishing. The strange picture was snapped in the early morning by a photographer who said they were reduced to tears after seeing the mysterious, huge, glowing orb. It featured jagged shapes, and some claim resembled spired buildings or even trees in the forest. I went outside to look first thing this morning. After sitting outside for a few minutes, I looked to the west at the fog covering the hillside. Then there was this bright, almost blinding light that made my eyes tear up. I mean, tears were rolling down my face. It appeared to be in front of the heavy fog above the hill, and slightly after snapping a few pictures, it appeared to dim. It had translucent look. I looked down at my camera to make sure I've gotten it, and then it was gone. So here's the close-up. And again, what do you think this is? Is this a glimpse of another reality? Is this a holographic projection? Or is this simply an object with some bright light and these are trees in front of it? Different speculation, certainly. I don't have an answer, but if I was to make my guess, it certainly looks like trees, and you could see that whatever these trees are up at the top, they seem to, like they would go on. And for whatever reason that this structure has this shape, maybe it is an object that was illuminated when the sun was at a certain angle as it was setting or rising. I don't know which one it is here. Okay, so there you go. Something to contemplate. Let me know what you think on that one. All right, here's a story about a large, I don't think this is what they saw, just an artist rendition. The Farmington Armada incident got a lot of local press at the time, but it took 65 years before there was in-depth research into the Northwest New Mexico phenomena. David Marler, in his presentation Saturday for the New Mexico chapter of the Mutual UFO Network, is the first public lecture about the detailed investigation of the incident. Pulling half of the town's population is uncertain reality. Fully half of the town's population still is certain today that it saw spaceships or some strange aircraft, hundreds of them zooming through the skies yesterday. Estimates of the number range from as many as up to 500 or more. The objects appeared to play tag high in the air, at times a streak across the almost unbelievable speeds. I wasn't there in March 1950, so I'll be honest. I, like most other people, I don't know what these witnesses saw. I usually go as a process of illumination. Did they see aircraft? Did they see some kind of atmospheric phenomena? When you can systematically rule out all the conventional explanations, then you're left with this genuine unknown. It's a mystery. Marlowe went in search of witnesses, discovered most of them are no longer living. However, he found a few, including 73-year-old Virgil Jerry Riggs. Okay? So, very interesting indeed. I'm going to leave the rest for you to check out. I'm going to move on to the next story here. Okay, this story fits into the some of the fake stuff that NASA does, because you see images, and I've been showing you images from time to time at Mars of things that are being done up at Mars. But then there have been those who have claimed that they're really not up on Mars, they're actually on Earth somewhere. And then NASA came out and they give little, notices that they're in Devon, on Devon Island is what they say. So anyway, here's an article. Somebody was doing some searching, and what they found out that it's not on Mars, but in Greenland. And if you go through this video here, it says, granted, NASA says they are the robot Rover lunar being tested on Devon Island, not Greenland, but this could be a cover for faked Mars photos. And if you go through here, here's this video. This one is 5 minutes 56 seconds. What you see in here is pretty interesting, because what we've got is Google Earth, and this gentleman claims that through using Google Earth, he was able to zoom down into Greenland, and as he moved around in Greenland, he came across some very interesting objects that were there. And let's see, as he gets, here we go. As he gets to this object, you're about to see this vehicle here. It's coming up. It's coming up. You'll see right there, this orange vehicle. Okay, you could see very clearly it has a NASA insignia right there. And so as he goes through later, he keeps moving through here. Let me show you some other things. Here is, look at this. So we have some Rover type vehicle out there. I don't know if this is the same one as the Curiosity or which one this is, but we have a rover-like vehicle. Images of scientists are out here who are monitoring what's going on. Keep going around, and there was another vehicle that was spotted at one point. Let me see if I can find it. There we go. Here's the other vehicle coming up. And this vehicle here, you can actually see right here, it says Mars Project. So I don't know. I don't know what to think. You know, it could be something as simple as they are doing their testing there before they go to Mars, or they're not on Mars and they're out there in Greenland and they're trying to fake it, knowing that most people probably will never look about, you know, to verify their claims. I don't know. Don't know the answer. I'm letting you know right now. I'm just showing you what's out there. And one last piece, and this really isn't UFO news. It sort of is, sort of isn't. This is a trailer. I'm going to leave the link here for you. The trailer to the upcoming X-Men Apocalypse movie. Now, what is interesting about this is there is a character in here. Here's a picture of him. This character right here, as the trailer will show you, is considered, and I'm not giving anything away because this is all in the trailer. This is discovered as the first mutant. And when this first mutant is talking to others in the movie, in the actual trailer, it says, the character says, he's gone by many names. Some have been Ra, sometimes he's been called Yahweh. So I found that to be very fascinating, that a story is being done with the storyline where Yahweh is the one who is the alien that's, you know, causing problems, or not necessarily the good guy. He's created a lot, but he's not the be-all, end-all of all things. And so, considering the stories I've been sharing with you about Yaldabaoth, and who is Yahweh, and how he was cast out from where he was because he was considered the error, and so on and so forth, I thought this was quite interesting that they are making a movie like this. Okay? So that was it. Just thought I'd show you. I'm going to jump away, and then when I get back, we're going to continue our journey down the rabbit hole as we continue our exploration of the flat Earth. Stay tuned. I'll be back.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up.
wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
Okay. Okie dokie. Ready to continue on? I am. Flat Earth. Flat Earth. Okay, I've said those two words, flat Earth. That might have people running for the hills. I mean, hills is kind of funny considered flat. Get it? Hills, flat. They're opposite. Anyway. This is an interview I did with Mark Sargent. Mark Sargent has a video series that he created called Flat Earth Clues, in which he outlines in a series of videos different reasons and clues that the Earth is actually flat. Now, we've gone through 5 of the titles so far. A brief review. Empty Theater, the very first one, was letting us know that there is a lack of movies that are available in the world about particular subjects like the moon landing, because the moon landing is tied in with the flat Earth theory, because it is believed that we don't have the technology to have gone to the moon ever, and that it was all staged and fake. The other day I showed you a video from Stanley Kubrick that's supposed to be an interview of him, deathbed confession, on how he faked the moon landing. That's been the theory for a long time for those who've been searching the moon hoax. And it ties in because if we don't have the ability to go to the moon, then that throws a monkey wrench into whether or not we have the ability to take any images from space or anything that NASA is saying. But if we didn't go to the moon and the moon landing was faked, if we were to make a Hollywood movie, undoubtedly the movie itself would be a better quality than the quality of the movie that was made about the fake landing. And if we made a movie on Earth that was about the moon, it might get people confused if they see something and they'll say, well, how come we've never seen this crystal clarity before? So it throws a monkey wrench, and it kind of, you look and see what's missing, and when you realize that something like that is missing, it throws a question mark out there, because we have movies about Mars and other planets, but the very closest one, the moon, which we say is our greatest achievement, we don't have any movies of. Nothing celebrating that particular moment. So that's very interesting indeed. Second one was Bird Wall. Bird Wall is about Admiral Byrd and his many expeditions he took to the South Pole, which is Antarctica. Antarctica is an area on the flat Earth model that is a circle around the entire outside perimeter. It's like a huge wall that goes all the way around. And in this flat Earth model, outside of this ice wall eventually leads to the edge. And so Commander Admiral Byrd was out there. There were 7 countries that were out there. They found resources that were going to last for a long, long time for the entire planet. They talked about how this was the greatest achievement and for science. And then in the midst of all of this excitement about being there, everyone just pulled out. They put together a treaty that nobody could go back there, and that's been the end of that. So you can't make a trip to the inner part of Antarctica because it's off limits for some particular reason. Nobody knows why. The theory is that they found the edge, and that is why. Commander Admiral Byrd also said that there is plenty of land out there that we haven't even discovered. Land as big as the United States. So there could be a whole lot of something out there that we don't know about. For all we know, there could be a whole nother country on this plane that's flat, and there could be a whole nother civilization of beings that are living there. But we might not know, because if this is the case, think about how much challenge it is for us to get to that ice wall. And then you get to the top of the ice wall. It's quite high. And you get there and you cross the ice and you get to the other side. Let's say it's the same thing on the other side. You don't have a boat to be able to cross the sea at that point to go any further. And so we would never know. We would need to have some sort of technology to get us across that barrier, to get us across that sea to land on that side, if indeed that is the case. So So something to ponder in the whole mix. The next one was called Map Makers. Map Makers was discussing the various maps we have of planet Earth, and that with these maps, there's a very old map made by a gentleman named Al-Biruni, a Persian scientist who believed that the Earth was flat. This flat Earth map that he made is the same map that the United Nations uses, and it's the same image on the flag of the United Nations. Question is, why would the United Nations, who's representing the world, why would they fly and have as their logo an image that was created by somebody who believed the Earth was flat, of a flat Earth? Good question indeed. Doesn't make any sense. I'm sure they'd have some reason why. But the next one was Shell Beach. Shell Beach was just introducing the idea of an enclosed system and how there are a number of movies out that talk about closed system. There's TV shows, The Dome. The Simpsons did an episode with a dome over it. Of course, we have The Truman Show. There's more recent movies out. One was called The Signal. And basically the idea that you can have a system that is enclosed like a terrarium. And the bigger the terrarium, the less people are going to realize that they're in sort of a dome structure. And then, of course, if you're born into that structure, you might never know if the cage is so large. So that's the whole idea of Shell Beach, playing off the idea of what's in movies. And the last one, Status Quo, was who knows about this? And in Status Quo was discussed how all major religions, up until the Renaissance period, all of them wrote and described the Earth as a flat plane, sort of like a plate, okay, with a dome over it. The dome would be called the firmament. And there are many places in the Bible and various of these other religious texts from these other religions where you can go and you can find descriptions of the Earth as being a flat plane with a dome over it. And it's described over and over and over again. It says very clearly the Earth does not move. It has four corners. The angels stand on the four corners of the Earth. On and on and on. There's many different clues throughout there. So those are 5 good videos with the clues in them. I'm going to continue on and jump into the next one, which is part 6. Here we go.
This, not by a long shot. And
Right.
they will absolutely break that verse out, and they will put it on billboards everywhere if this comes out.
Right. Very good. So part 6 of your series is called Depth of Perception, where it gets into a bit more description of what is this closed model,
Yep.
and why wouldn't anybody bother to go out, up, or down? What are the restrictions that kind of keeping them in place?
Yeah. I summarized, and then I got into geologic systems. But what I did was I said, okay, let's look what we know so far. And if you were going to build a flat model, there's certain systems you would put in place that would seem like natural systems, but they're really more deterrents to keep people away from the edge. But it's a soft deterrent. It's a pushback. So, for example, first thing you would do, again, I love this little thing where you add 3% salt solution to the oceans. That's brilliant, because what it does is you can't drink the water you're sailing on. So if you're doing explorations, a lot of those exploration voyages were based on how much fresh water you had on board. And if you could just keep replenishing that, you'd go so much further. I mean, that reduces exploration
Right.
like 95%. You reduce the temperature on a flat model as you get further and further to the outer edge, to the point where saltwater freezes at about 15 degrees, and then you start seeing icebergs. That'll deter wooden ships, everything on the outside. And then if you actually made it to the outer edge, you run into Antarctica, and that goes up 2 miles, almost straight up, and then it stays at 2 miles. So you're at 10,000 feet, and a lot of people are going to get altitude sickness at that sort of thing, sort of range. And then even if you did get up there and you started trudging across the ice, there's no plant life, there's no animals to eat, there's no anything. So there's so many deterrents on the outer edges. It's just layers and layers of things to keep you out there, or I'm sorry, to keep you off the ice. And the upper part is easier. One, because you need technology to do it. You
Right.
couldn't even get balloons. Balloons to carry people weren't even invented until 1760, which means, that's thousands of years worth of stuff you didn't even have to worry about. And then even if you did go up there, you get less and less oxygen, and the temperature drops off. So you don't have to deal with oceans, but it's getting super cold, and you're not breathing so well. So you're
Right.
not going to be doing much there. Between those two mechanisms, that keeps you from going out to the edge or going up too high.
Hmm.
And then I covered the thing I didn't talk about at that point until I dealt with this clue was the geologic systems. Because sooner or later, because everybody knows how to dig, they're going to dig really deep. It's people
Right.
people love digging holes for some reason. And they're going to dig, and how far can you dig on a flat model? Because eventually, that old joke, you dig your way to China, right? Well, no, you
Right.
can't dig your way to China. As a matter of fact, you can't dig your way very far, turns out, at all, because once you dig down to a point of about 8 miles, it doesn't matter what you're using. If you're using a high-speed alloy drill bit, it starts turning to clay because of the heat. The heat just starts getting warmer and warmer, and to the point where the drill bits fail. So nobody's drilled below 8 miles anywhere in the world, unless you're talking about classified military, but that's a whole other thing. Um, and that's when the question is like, okay, well, we know that because there's molten rock. There's lava underneath us, and we know what the core of the Earth looks like. It's like, really? You sure you know what the core of the Earth looks like? Because if you've only drilled down 8 miles, you don't know anything. And
Right.
science is the first person to say, oh, we're using seismographs, we're using all sorts of sonar and underground radar, we're doing all sorts of stuff. Do you know what it looks like? Well, we're kind of extrapolating. So uh, when it comes to the molten rock, they said, well, it's probably a natural process. No, no, it's not a natural process. You don't have to. In a structure this size, if it's 8,000 miles across, and you've already built systems to keep, natural systems which work perfectly to keep people off the edge or up top, you really going to leave something to chance on the lower section? No, no.
Right.
The lava system is artificial from the beginning, and there is no doubt in my mind that everything is controlled, including that.
Right. As you're talking, the scene that's popping in my head is that scene in They Live, where they beam underground, and then you see this whole structure, and then he actually goes out to like a platform that's outlooking
Sure.
space, and it's like, okay, what's going on down there? There's like, because if you have a system where the top is a dome and this is where people are living, you got to have some sort of mechanism underneath that perhaps is powering the system, keeping it going.
Exactly, and entire civilizations could live underground. That, and they would absolutely make sure that we didn't discover them, because if you're on the ground, that's the easiest people to get to. It's like
Right.
if we found out there was a civilization underground, people would be relentless, because digging's easy.
Hmm.
And the other thing I try to tell people when they bring up certain geologic systems or anything that it's like, well, it's obvious, proves the globe. It's like, look, if you build a structure that big, if you have the technology to build a structure that big and that complex, is there anything you can't do? Because if you can actually, well, they obviously can't do that. It's like, well, then you're kidding yourself. Because a structure, just the raw structure itself is
Hmm.
is such a huge accomplishment that it's almost limitless what can be done here.
Remember in what was it, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe? They were going through and they were creating the world.
Yeah,
Creating
that's a wonderful, those scenes when they're building the worlds. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Now, granted, they were building globes, but still, that, yeah, planetary technology at that scale is, again, you don't have to build the whole planet. That's the best part.
Right.
All you have to do is fake it. If everyone believes it's a planet, then it's working.
Right.
Everything.
Now, in regards to one of the questions that people often ask is, well, what about the curvature of the Earth? Can't you go so high and you get to a mountaintop and you look and you should see the curvature of the Earth? So
Yeah,
how does
show me the curvature of the Earth. Show me a picture that doesn't use a fisheye lens. Show me something. The curvature of the Earth. Now, there may be a slight curve when it comes to the, at least in my model, because I think there has to be a little bit of a slope near the North Pole. Um,
Mhm.
but the rest of it, but it's not this. It's not this drastic, huge curve. Check out the videos. There's lots of videos where people send up weather balloons and they
Mhm.
don't show a curve. And the ones that do show a curve are generally using a fisheye lens. It's a very old, it's not even a camera trick. It's just a camera lens which people use to give, better panoramic shots. The Red Bull
Right.
one is a perfect example. And don't think that thing didn't get a lot of hits and was pushed out there, on accident. Everything
Right.
that shows the curvature, anything that deliberately goes out of their way to show the curvature of the Earth, is being done to just keep reinforcing this on you, because
Right.
people are starting to forget it. They're starting
Yep.
to see past it. And it's a good illusion. Remember, we're suckers for magic tricks. You know, we believe a lot of that stuff, or we want to believe. That's the, you know, this suspension of disbelief that's really kicking in here, because
Right.
we want to, since we want to believe this, we will see this. You know,
Yep.
we will not see the obvious.
Remember what Styx says. Just remember, it's a grand illusion.
Nice, good reference.
The next one in order. Okay, I just wanted to show you something here as an example. Okay, here we have a cap, right? If I was to hold this way, it's circular. Now, depending on the way you're looking at it, you could look at this, and if you're looking at its angle, you could say there's a curve right there, and you could easily say this is the curvature of the Earth. But if you're looking at it at a flat level here, you're just simply seeing the flat plane, right? You're not seeing the curve. So it just depends on the angle how you're seeing it. So it could be a flat plane, and if you're looking at it at a certain angle, you may say, oh, well, there's the curvature, but it's not the curvature, it's just the outside edge of the flat plane that we're looking at from a particular angle. So just wanted to throw that in. Let's continue on. There was video number 7, which is called The Long Haul, but also there's a video number 9, which is called The Magic Show, and these two kind of go together.
Yes.
So
If you're building a flat system, if you finally get your head around it and you're saying, okay, it's enclosed like the Truman Show, then there are 3 real basic rules that cannot be broken. They can be hidden, but they cannot be broken. The first rule, of course, is that the space program cannot exist in real life. It cannot. Everything you see in the space program is utterly a sham, and in my opinion, not even that good. You're not spending that much money on it. It's like, look, get some more funding because it's awful. 2, you cannot take a picture of the Earth from space, because in an enclosed system you wouldn't be able to get up high enough, and that is also true. The people don't realize, you know, you know, for those, you know, I'm a little older, which is 15 years ago, when you did an internet search, an image search for the Earth from space, you literally got one picture, and that was a picture from supposedly 1969 or 68, depending on what you believe the date stamp to be. It's like it was 2000. Why in the world are you using a picture from the 60s, you know, for your picture of the Earth? It was stunning to me. And every picture you see now, when you're looking at the Earth, if you do a Google search, you know, click on images, they're all composites, and they'll admit that they're composites. That's the part that kills me. But there's so many of them, and they're so much prettier than the original image that they released. That's like, okay, people just go with that. They don't understand that it's not you know, they're all composites. They're not real shots. And that question has to be asked. It's like, okay, why aren't you taking pictures of the Earth from space? But the third rule, which you can actually get, you know, it's more down to earth, so to speak, is the flight routes. And that is, if it's a flat map, if you're on a globe, you can take shortcuts. Like, for example, the perfect example here is on a globe, you have Australia in the southern hemisphere, and you have South America on the southern hemisphere. And I'm talking about the north part, you know, the drug dealing part, the southern part. And if you're flying from Australia to South America, it's about 7,400 miles. It crosses the South Pacific Ocean. It's easy. It's a straight shot. Not a big deal at all. It's 12 hours, right? Should be 12 hours. But on a flat map, this route doesn't look like that, because if it's squished, that ocean then becomes bigger, and it has a weird bow to it because it's pushed out to the side. So that 7,400 miles, if you're crossing the ocean, becomes a lot longer. It becomes more than 10,000 miles. And if that's the case, then what do you do? And if that's the case, then, and again, it's easy to prove, is those planes won't be going those routes, because you're not going to take a 10,000 mile flight around the ocean, because it's going to screw everybody up. It's like, why is the flight taking so long? Plus the GPS is going to look like, it'll make it seem like it's the plane's going way, way slower. So the only way you can get to where you need to go is you have to make a route that doesn't make any sense, because on a flat map you have to cut straight across the map, and on a globe that would be the equivalent of going from Australia, cutting across Los Angeles or San Francisco, and then coming back down to South America. It doesn't make sense. Why in the world would you do this if it was, you know, if it was a globe? Right. But that's what they're doing. And so you do it in 2 ways. One, you make connections. And by that, I mean you create connections that take you places that you wouldn't normally go. And you do that to confuse people. You give big layovers. I mean, people, look it up. Go from Buenos Aires to Sydney, Australia, and see how many connections you got. See how long it takes. Should be a 12-hour flight. I've seen flight connections that run 50 plus hours, 52 hours. That's 3 days. You know, you're pushing on the third day. Why would you ever do that?
Right.
But on a flat map, it works out perfectly. A flat map, that's exactly the route you would take. You would go from Australia, you'd cut near America, and then you'd go down. People say, well, wouldn't people notice flying over America? Well, not if you flew at night, and not if people weren't looking out the window. And people look out the window. Honestly, when I did domestic flights inside the country, I had no idea what state I was flying over, or what body of water. If I crossed a body of water, I'd be going, I have no idea where I am. Plus, the GPS system, which we're getting into, the GPS system will tell you what it wants you to see. And the GPS system was designed by the United States military, Department of Defense, and in my opinion, the GPS system, real or not, because if there's no satellites, then GPS system isn't even what they say it is. But real or not, it's going to tell you, it's going to project the image you want, or they want to see. So here's the thing. So I'm watching these flights, and this I'll get into. So the first thing is connections, and there'll be tons and tons of connections. If you're doing anything in the southern hemisphere, 95% of the flights are connections. However, there were people that were bugging me and saying, look, there's some non-stops and they don't make any sense. Because they can see the booking. It's like, well, it's obviously Santiago, Chile to Auckland, New Zealand. Well, and the flight time looks right, the duration looks right. Explain that. The flat earth thing's blown up. And I was going, no, it's not. Because you can't fake it. Because the rule cannot be broken. That's the best. Okay. That's what I love about the flat model, and that is, if it works, there's only certain things they can do. You cannot break the rules. You can't teleport anywhere. So what I did was I started watching the southern hemisphere, everything below the equator, on a GPS system, a real-time GPS system called planefinder.net. Now you can go to Flight Tracker 24 or Plane Tracker, there's a whole bunch, but it doesn't really matter because they're all getting their data from the same system, and that's the United States government, which is the GPS system. And I was starting to watch flights over the southern hemisphere. And they're easy to spot. I should be able to see a red plane, going over the water, especially in the South Pacific. And I was staring at it for 1 day, 2 days, 4 days, and I realized there was no planes flying over the oceans. And I was going, okay, why is that? How is that even possible? Because even if you had a connection, eventually you've got to get across the ocean, right? You got to fake it. And so I'm going, wait, where are all the planes? There's no planes over any of the oceans down there. South Atlantic, South Pacific, Indian Ocean, there's nothing there. So where are the planes? And I start staring at them, and then I realize that the planes aren't making it over the oceans because they're being erased from the GPS system. So I started following it, because the easiest one is to follow all the planes that are in Brazil, because Brazil has a lot of flights, and because it's a big country, a lot of people. And there was some flights going from Brazil to Africa over the South Atlantic, which should be a pretty short jog. And when they got over about 150, 200 miles out, they'd vanish. And all the planes started vanishing. And that's when once I saw, I didn't have to watch that very long. It only took me a couple hours before I was going, so that's how you would do it. Because if you can't show the routes, then you hide the routes. So what the GPS system, in my opinion, was even designed to do was to mask how the flights were actually getting from point A to point B. And so what they would do is, like the Santiago, Chile flight, the flight, you could, people say, well, that you got nonstops. It's like, fine, show me how they got there, because I can guarantee you they're not going across the ocean, because they're starting to fly and then they blink out. And then an hour before they land, they blink back in, and then they land. It's like, it's magic. It's a miracle. Right. That's, go figure. The plane disappeared. Nobody knew where it was, and now it's going to land in its exact spot. And they say, well, that means that the flight actually happened. I go, yeah, the flight happened. In fact, people were saying you should go down on these flights. I'm just going, even if I was on the flight, I couldn't prove anything, because I couldn't tell you how I got there. Right. So, and if I was flying at night, then I would be totally screwed. It'd be a waste of money. So their option was, they figured, we'll just kill all the flights in the southern hemisphere off the radar, off the GPS system. Therefore, if it's out of sight, out of mind, nobody looks for them, and nobody talks about them. And it's it's overkill, but that's what they do. And up until now, it's worked. But
And so we have the same military-industrial complex
yeah,
who made Antarctica, the interior of Antarctica, off limits,
yeah,
is the same one who's designed this GPS
yep.
system that we're following. Okay. Now, on a flat Earth model, where do the hemispheres come in and the magnetic north and magnetic south? How do we look at those things?
On a flat model, you got to remember that the southern hemisphere, it gets pushed out. So the northern hemisphere stays pretty much the same like it would.
Okay.
If you squished, if this thing was squishable, the northern hemisphere would stay where it is, but the southern hemisphere gets flattened out, on the outside of it. So the
Okay.
southern hemisphere gets um, stretched in the outer ring. So instead of a northern
Okay.
hemisphere, you really have an inner ring and an outer ring. And most of the continents are on the northern hemisphere anyway, so it's okay. When it comes to magnetic north and magnetic south, that really doesn't change much. You put a magnetic field where the North Pole is, and then the entire outer ring is
Is the south.
the south, magnetic. You use a weaker field.
Okay. Seem to have a freezing. Seems to be a freezing taking place at the moment with the video, so maybe that's a place to end it for today. Move on to the next bit of information. But pretty interesting, right? Pretty interesting indeed. And I have found that the more that I've looked into this, the more that I find that is just absolutely fascinating. Indeed. All right, let me jump over to the song for a moment, fix this, and I'll be right back.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace.
Great Spirit, send down your love, send down your love, send down your love to us from above. Great Spirit, send down your love, send down your love, send down your love to us from above. Oh, 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 oh. Great Spirit, shine down your light, shine down your light, shine down your light to light our way. Great Spirit, shine down your light, shine down your light, shine down your light to light our way. Oh, 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 oh. Great Spirit, show us the way, show us the way, show us the way to live in peace every day. Great Spirit, show us the way, show us the way, show us the way to live in peace every day. Oh, 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 oh. The wheel of life keeps rolling, rolling, rolling round and round, round and round. Nothing you can do will stop it, stop it. Nothing will slow it down. You gotta keep on going, going strong, going strong. You gotta keep believing and keep moving on. Oh, 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 oh.
All right, problem solved. Continuing on. So I'll continue on tomorrow with the last part of that interview. The flat Earth. Look, I'm a flat earther. I'm not going to deny that anymore. I haven't been denying it actually. the more I look at this, the more that I see more and more. And it's like once you see behind the curtain, I could be completely wrong. I could be the biggest idiot or one of the biggest idiots on the face of this planet believing this, but I don't think so. I think that there's something to this, and I'm willing to explore further to find out. And I believe that as you explore, you will find out, as I have, that there is something to this that is important for us to know. All right, here's a study. Harvard study finds that health care costs can be reduced by 43% with yoga and meditation. So, two important things that we certainly know about. So, practices like yoga and meditation and kirtan can help curb the need for general health care services by almost 50%. It's an article by Amanda Froelich. Imagine if before and after a hectic day of work, everyone took 20 minutes to stretch and objectively contemplate their life's journey. According to a Harvard study, such simple practice could change our world and the healthcare system dramatically. The study, conducted by Harvard-affiliated Massachusetts General Hospital, Institute for Technology Assessment, and the Benson Henry Institute, concluded that evoking a relaxation response or physiologic state of deep rest helps alleviate stress and anxiety while positively benefiting one's heart rate and blood pressure. It is noted that the study's author that stress-related illnesses such as anxiety and depression are the third highest causes of health expenditures in the U.S. after heart disease. All right, there's more to this article. I'm going to leave that for you. And I'm going to move on here to our next page in The Warrior of the Light. This is page 140. The warrior knows about the waterfall effect. He has often seen someone mistreating another person who lacks the courage to respond. Then out of cowardice and resentment, that person vents his anger on someone weaker than himself, who takes it out on someone else in a veritable torment of misery. No one knows the consequences of his own cruelty. That is why the warrior is careful to use his sword and only accepts an opponent who is worthy of him. In moments of rage, he punches a rock and bruises his hand. The hand will heal eventually, but the child who got beaten because his father lost a battle will bear the mark for the rest of his life. Good words. Here's our message for today. It's from Archangel Michael. Here we go.
Shifting is easy to do. Archangel Michael, December 15th, 2015. Channeled by Daniel Scranton. Welcome. We are here to serve and assist you. Blinking in and out of the physical reality is something that you do without realizing that you are doing it. You are not physical for exactly as long as you are physical. And this blinking gives you an opportunity to blink into another reality. It is easier for you to shift to a parallel universe than you might think. There is a practice of shifting realities that few have mastered, but those that have understand the blinking in and out of the physical reality. They are simply keeping up with the speed of that blinking. This is not something that you can do in order to escape a problem, because as long as you are focused on a problem, you are incapable of keeping up with the very fast rate at which you are blinking in and out. This is something you can do when you are in a very high vibrational state, when you are feeling light, carefree, and joyous. Now when you shift to another parallel universe, you will not necessarily know where you are going. But when you are in that state of being, you trust that where you are going is going to be of a similar vibration. And so you are not attached to shifting to a particular parallel universe. And in that non-attachment, you make it possible. We are suggesting that you have fun with this, that you play around with it, and that you demonstrate to yourselves just how much fun you can have and just how easy it is to shift. We are Michael. We are it. We are love.
All right, good message. So that brings us finally to our meditation for today. So just kind of contemplating everything we've talked about. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath and exhale. Take another deep breath and exhale again. And another breath and exhale. All right, let's just imagine all of the information that is presented to us, swirling all around us, swirling in the air. And each and every day, we all have the opportunity to see this information and to understand what is really going on. But as this information is blowing around us, we also see these other winds and vibrations of doubt and fear that are put into the world, and they cloud what it is we are seeing. And these illusions form in front of the information that we need to have. And so we use our minds and tell ourselves we need to focus past the illusion to see the reality. And as we do, the illusion clears, as if we're looking at a cloud of smoke that clears, and we see clearly behind it now. And so this is the way of life, and we realize that as we walk through the world and we make an effort to look past the illusion, we see clearly what is going on. What is the information that we need to know, why we need to know it, and how we need to implement it. And so as we go through the world this day and we hear about all the challenges and the problems, we remind ourselves to look past the illusion, to see what's really going on, to understand that all of these stories of fear and terror only hold us back. And when we let go of any fear we have, we find a great strength within us. And we see that there is nothing to be afraid of, because the illusion has only created an illusion of fear. So we fill our hearts with the Spirit of God, the Spirit of Christ, the light of truth that shines through the universe. And as we allow ourselves to embrace that which is already within us, we find ourselves moving smoothly over the waves of life. So we thank you, Heavenly Mother and Father, for the opportunity to see clearly this day. We pray that our eyes may continue to open and our ears may truly hear, that we become aware of what is real, that we may step away from that which is trying to deceive us. So let the subconscious mind continue on this journey, looking past the illusion. And let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3 coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2 coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1 coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale and open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That's the show for today. Thank you very much for being here. Tomorrow we'll wrap up the interview with Mark Sargent, and then we'll wrap things up on Friday with some more links and some more information, because I really want you to look into the subject. Not just from a standpoint of yeah, and dismiss it, but look at the subject. Go in to debunk it. Go in to show that these are wrong, that the information's wrong. And you'll find out that you'll have more challenge in doing so than you believe. There's a lot of illusions in the world, my friends. It's our job to see past them. But we have to understand where the little illusions are and where the big ones are. The little ones, all the stuff going on in the earth, the wars, the rumors of wars, the lying, the deceit, these are all the small picture that's taking place, but there's a bigger picture. So let's stay focused on the bigger picture so we don't get caught up in the small one, because we can't do anything really within there. Remember, fire, water, air, earth. If we want to change the earth and the physical reality, we have to go to the fire, water, air. If we're just caught up within that realm of lying and deceiving and fighting, we're not in the place where we can make that change. So we have to see through the illusion so we can make the change to the fire, the water, the air. So that's simple. It's not a difficult process. Remember, Jesus said we must be like children to enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, that implies simplicity. Simplicity indeed. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow. Have an awesome day. I love you. Keep loving each other. Peace. I'm out of here.